Hello, hello.
Hi,
How's
I
it
am
going?
here as well. I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done a stream. Um, I'm like woefully unprepared for this one because, in all honesty, like I've been watching bits and pieces about Gamescom, and I watched your video on the Fan Expo, but I'm kind of out the loop. Other than like that Crimson Desert trailer, which was like amazing. I do want to talk about that. And I've literally just been going through like all the stuff that's been announced, and I've seen a few trailers for things here and there. I haven't really like kept up with it like fully, but I still think it'd be fun to just have a little chill chat, and we can talk about whatever else as well. But yeah, what have you been up to?
Not much, mate. To be honest with you, like when it comes to besides real life stuff, I've kind of just been, keeping my eyes on what's going on with Spider-Man stuff and all that. It's one of the things I will say just really quick, and it's kind of peeling back the curtain a little bit when it comes to like being a content creator with Spider-Man stuff is that everyone's already done it and people know how to finesse the system a little bit more, should we say, when it
Hmm.
comes to covering Spider-Man stuff. So you either have to be the first one or you have to be the smartest one, right? And
Yeah.
when it comes to stuff like that, when I did the Fan Expo video, I was like, this probably won't get that many views. It'll probably be one of those 300 view videos where I'll just say, all right, I'll just write off. It's just something to have uploaded and just say that I've done it. But then it took off because I checked and I
Yeah.
was one of the first people to just say it's stuff at Fan Expo rather than try and like give a fancier title to it. You know what I mean? Clickbait it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I
No,
know I
hundred
did
percent. Like,
notice like I one of the things I had noticed is that a lot of people that like sometimes here's the thing with clickbait, it can be good but it can also be bad because if you overdo it with clickbait it ends up not like when you so most of the time when you get new viewers on long form videos it's because people do YouTube searches and look for
mhm.
them. But if your title's like insane thing at in Canada for Spider-Man or something like that, right? No one's going to type that in. But if you
Yeah.
just put everything at Fan Expo for Spider-Man 2, a lot of people want to know if there was anything at Fan Expo. They'll type in
Yeah.
probably exactly that, and then that
And we
video
we
shows
kind of
up.
talked about this like behind the scenes, didn't we? Where I was like, oh, you need to just be prepared for those people who are going to click on it thinking there might be gameplay and like, but it seems like it's been pretty good. Like everyone's been pretty chill with that video.
For the most part, yeah. For the
Um,
most part.
and I'm glad, I'm happy it took off for you because you're right. Like I don't think I really like, even just when I'm browsing through YouTube, you don't really see much. I haven't really seen much stuff about like Spider-Man and Fan Expo specifically, and like there wasn't a whole lot there really that we haven't already seen, but it was good to get like a close up look at like the console cover and like all that kind of stuff. So I think it was definitely a worthwhile video, and like it it's one of those things where you just have this little idea. You're like, oh, I'm just going to drop this video, and then it just takes off, and it's like fair play to you. I know you were looking forward. You were talking about doing like a sort of follow up video, but the voice actor for Miles, I think, was unwell and he couldn't make it in the
Yeah,
end.
he was poorly. He couldn't do it in the end. Because I was saying in the initial
Unfortunate.
video, I said the reason that I would even want to cover that is because, and I mean this with absolute love, Najee Jeter is Tom Holland in gaming universe wise, where like this dude cannot, and maybe Tony Todd as well deserves to be thrown in there as well when it
Yeah,
comes to spoiling stuff and sort of just hinting at things and being really open. Obviously, Deeper Depths made that video a little bit ago, not too long ago, where he was talking about like basically Najee kind of just said, "Yeah, I'm working with something with Yuri and Tony Todd next year." Like, and I'm, I'll talk to you maybe after that. Like, I wonder what that's going to be, guys. It's definitely not DLC, you know.
yeah.
So
I
it's a bit obvious.
Yeah, it is always funny when like, but I think that's a good thing. Like when a voice actor or an actor or anyone involved in any kind of like media or game or film or whatever, when they're like really excited and they can't really keep it together, where they just want to talk about it, like that's really good for me because it shows that they're not just doing it as just like, oh, it's just my job, I get paid for it, and cash my check and go home kind of thing. It's like they've genuinely like really excited and want to talk about it, and it's good to see that kind of thing like shine through a bit.
I think that's the
Um,
thing I learned with him. Just really quick, I think that's the
yeah,
one thing that the reason why Tony Todd probably didn't get a slapped wrist when he gave pretty much release dates for
yeah,
things, because because like this he said it himself. This is like, I think this is the first time he's ever been in a game, and the way it works is very different to like films and stuff
hmm
like that. You know, it's saying, oh, well, Mark's still talking about it here and stuff like that isn't necessarily like a huge game breaking thing when it comes to movies, because it's kind of obvious that a couple of months beforehand you're going to start hearing specific things, but like no one knew anything about dates with these games, right? And there's so many third parties and, you know, Sony and Insomniac themselves that have got to be ready to show off these things and all that. So an actor being like, well, we might see stuff here and here, it's like, Tony, it's not how it
yeah,
works.
yeah. No, but it's good. I mean, like it's good as well because like obviously he's from like an older generation, so like video games, like it's not something he's done before, but he's still like super passionate about it, and I think that's really cool when like someone does something like that, tries out something new and it works out really well. That's good, and I think he's gonna kill it as Venom as well.
I think he's going to kill it as well. I love the videos where he just gets high and just does Venom voices on Twitter. It's really funny. Like he just does a big fat rip and then he does his voice and it's so cool.
Yeah. What other? I have, like I said, I'm kind of out the loop a bit, especially with Fan Expo. So, is there any other bits and pieces that like have kind of come up from that you want to talk about?
So the one thing that I'd noticed, well, as I was doing the video, literally, I mentioned it in the video as well, is that there's
Mhm.
no playable demo or anything of the sort, nothing that anyone can even jump on. And I mean, they would have made a big deal about it if there was, but it was quite weird because Marvel Spider-Man 1 had a playable demo at the Fan Expo
Okay.
when that was on its way. You know the one with the intro that just jumps straight into the gameplay?
Yes, I
Yeah,
remember.
people were able to play that behind closed curtains and stuff, you know.
Right.
But they don't, apparently that was confirmed that won't be happening this time. I
Okay,
don't
that's
know.
interesting. Do you think they're
I,
just trying to keep the story like super under wraps, and that's why? I mean, not that you'd really spoil anything with a gameplay demo, but like I don't know. They have like people can say whatever they want. Like I saw Sadat do a post on Twitter the other day where he was like, he had people in his comments saying that there's been no coverage for Spider-Man and it's been really big bones, and he was disagreeing with them. And obviously, it's not that there's been no coverage, but I think any like you have to admit that it has been a bit light. Like, yeah, we've had the gameplay demo, we've had like interviews, and we've had bits of information, but compared to like the first game and just in general, it does feel like it's still been pretty light on coverage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I'm in two minds for it, right? And I'm trying, and I think so. One of my thought process is that the first time around, they had to convince people that like they knew what they were going to do with the
Yeah,
character, and they had to get people invested that like, yeah, it's Spider Man, and you guys might buy that for that, but I want to show you guys why you should buy the game anyway. You know,
yeah,
even if maybe you're not a Spider Man fan, here's some cool stuff you can do, and you know, here's how we did the character and stuff. So you know, don't worry, it's still going to be, you know, a Spider-Man game. And now that like people have played the game, they trust Insomniac, they're into it. I guess, you know, they don't have to do that as much with the second one because people already kind of say, yeah, Insomniac are making a Spider-Man
yeah.
game, I'll buy it, you know.
No, that's true. Like, yeah, that is true. Like, people kind of know what to expect now, so they don't need to sell as hard on like they can make it work. Like, we already know that they're gonna cook with it, basically. So it's like, yeah, they don't have to. They don't have
Yeah.
to work as hard on that side of things. But at the same time, it's like I was speaking to I was kind of in like a little discussion on Twitter yesterday with Cal, um, and he was like talking about the Game Informer coverage, hoping it was Alan Wake, and I was like, nah, I hope it's Spider Man. And he was like, no, Alan Wake deserves the coverage more because everyone. It's been like I don't know, like years and years since the last Alan Wake game. I don't know exactly how long it's been. Been a long time. And he was like, it deserves the coverage more because everyone knows what Spider-Man's about. The first game didn't come out that long ago, really. And when he said that, I was like, actually, you know what? He's kind of got a point. Like, I see where he's coming from to an extent. Like, other games do need the coverage more than Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man 2 could not release anything from now till release and it's still going to absolutely smash it. So I kind of get where people are coming from.
It's an interesting sort of thing though, because when with games, the advertisement, like, so there might be some, adverts on TV, there might be some little bits and bobs like that, but it definitely doesn't feel as advertised as the previous one, because it's okay saying like, oh yeah, well, people played the first one and stuff, so they don't have to prove as much, but it's not
Yeah,
necessarily about proving as much either. It's also like, just the other mind is that they're kind of, you keep it almost too, you're almost too confident about it, and then you find out that there's some people who actually don't even know this game's going to happen, because there's people who don't go stay on Twitter 24/7, right?
yeah,
You kind of need to start, not even more information. I want to see it on my TV more, as I'm just waiting for like a show to come on, or like I want to see it on billboards and stuff more often, pictures and stuff like that, like maybe in Times Square, just getting that
yeah.
going
I
on,
mean,
and maybe that'll
they have
happen
done some
closer to
stuff
the
like that.
time.
Like I have seen billboards for it and stuff, and they've obviously have they have. It's not like they haven't shown up at like Fan Expo and stuff like that. It's just it's weird. I think it's because we've only had one gameplay demo, and it's like they've said that there's new swinging on it, and we're kind of getting a little bit, we're kind of veering into Spider-Man here, which as we do, but and I know it's meant to be about some of the Gamescom stuff, but just to kind of quickly talk about it, like we've only seen one gameplay demo where they've like said, yeah, there's going to be new swinging animations and there's going to be this, and but we've only seen that one gameplay demo, which looks brilliant, but it's like they're saying like it's going to have this and this and this, but we've just seen that one gameplay demo, and I don't necessarily need more gameplay to be sold on it. Like I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna play it, but it would just be nice to just have a little bit more of a deep dive into some of the changes they've made. Some people
Yeah.
don't need that. Some people aren't bothered. They're like, I don't need to see anything. I'll just trust in Insomniac that it's going to be great, and that's fair enough. Me personally, I just like to get into the nitty gritty details of stuff and see what they've done. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it is
there's a
what
good
it is.
chance that they'll do like a state of play that's dedicated
Yeah.
to Spider-Man. So they did it with Ragnarok, I believe, where it was like, we're going to talk a huge portion at the end about Ragnarok, about Horizon. So, I mean, I can't see why they wouldn't do that for Spider-Man. Like they'll do like a state of play where they'll show off little bits, and then it'll be like 20 minutes at the end dedicated to some Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah. I do think, I mean, there's still time. There's still like a whole month and a half basically until, I mean, what are we on? What are we on now? 26th. So nearly like, 2 months almost until it's out pretty much still. So there's time, but we'll see. But onto the Gamescom stuff. So I've just kind of been looking over, like just a list of announcements and stuff just to kind of
Oh
refresh
yeah,
my memory.
I should do the same actually.
One thing I do want to talk about, to be fair, and this is coming from me as like, PlayStation diehard fanboy, I'm kind of feeling Starfield. Like the more I see about that
Yeah.
game, honestly, I'm like, like, do
I
any
felt that as well. Actually,
like,
when I was watching Gamescom, I was in the call with Slipshark, who I won't say it, but it's a cool thing. And he's got so he's really into Starfield. Like, he's super excited about it. And just
yeah,
for that reason, I was like, I'm gonna show nothing but like complete interest for it, because even though I can't play it, I want it to be good for him as well, and my
hmm,
friends and people who play it. So when I
yeah,
was watching the trailer and stuff like that, I was like, you know what? This isn't just good for him; it's kind of good for me as well. Like, I'm kind of into this, like this looks insane. Like, this
yeah,
is kind of the the destiny I want, sort of thing. Like
yeah,
the
yeah,
more entertaining No Man's Sky approach.
mm.
And I mean, not only that as well, but I really wanted Bethesda to get a win, because they've released some
Fallout
absolute
76,
garbage. And
and like, yeah,
I really do like them as devs. Skyrim is obviously, despite how many times they've
Skyrim's one of
re-released
my
it.
one of, if not my favorite game of all time, and I don't say that lightly. Like the there's games that I think have obviously come out which are better on a technical level, and
Mm,
I still love like Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, is like obviously phenomenal. But there's just something about Skyrim that always brings me back to it. Like it it's just like a timeless game almost. Um, and when I'm looking at Starfield, I'm like, I think it's gonna capture that same kind of Skyrim magic, where it's just an endless game. Like you could genuinely be playing it in 10 years' time, and it still feels like a new experience.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like it's marketing talk, but there was things when they were talking about it initially before they really dug in and showed it off. And they were like, "Oh, you're not going to be able to like fly down to a planet. Like when you get close to a planet, it's a cutscene." And it's like, "Oh, that feels kind of dated." But then when you look at it, it's like, "No, this is a big game. Like there's a lot in here. The character creator looks really good. The NPCs that you can interact with look really good, like all fleshed out, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I do want to play this game. Like, if there was a reason to get an Xbox right now beyond backwards compatibility, it's like sorry, Star Wars, Starfield. Like, I think it is gonna shift consoles. Like for Xbox, finally, there's gonna be a
Yeah.
game that actually
Yeah,
starts shifting
exactly.
consoles.
And it will show as well that like exclusives clearly are a reason to pick up consoles. Like Xbox have tried really hard, bless them,
Yeah,
to shift systems with other things instead of games, but you are a games console. People want you for games. And if there's Spider-Man, God of War, um, there's more exclusives than just those two. But you know what I'm saying? A bunch
yeah,
of
yeah,
different
yeah.
PlayStation exclusive. People are gonna just will say, well, okay, I'd rather just get a PlayStation that does everything that the Xbox does, but with its own exclusive library. But if
Exactly.
Xbox can pull out these absolute like AAA 10-year in development bangers that you can be playing for like the rest of your life, then I don't see why you
Well,
wouldn't do that, you
Starfield
know?
itself is like looking at Starfield and how good it looks. It's the first game coming out on Xbox in literally years that's made me think I kind of want an Xbox. So like that to me proves how hard the exclusives that PlayStation has carry the whole brand. Like I love my PlayStation 5. I love its features. I love the user interface and everything like that. But it, when you see a game like Starfield that you really want that you can't play, it makes you realize how, like you've just said exactly, exclusive shift consoles, whether we like it or not, whether we like the concept of exclusives, they do work and they do sell.
Well, I mean, yeah,
So
like so the reason I have a Nintendo Switch at all is because of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, right?
yeah,
I had a friend who was a family friend that was selling his Switch for not that much. I said, "Right, I'm getting that and then I'm getting MUA 3 and there we go." And I managed to sort it out and it's just, it's clear that like you have the right thing. And I said to Slip when we were talking about it, I said if somehow in some twisted Kang altered reality kind of thing, as Spider-Man and all the other exclusives shifted to Xbox, I'm not going to say I'm staying on PlayStation. I'd sell my PlayStation and buy an Xbox. Like that is, the exclusives completely drive me. There's no other
yeah,
reason for it.
yeah. No, that's fair. And I think like Xbox and Microsoft in general spend so long on gimmicks like Connect and like trying to be a media platform rather than a games console. Hopefully, I think what will happen if Starfield does really well, which it probably will, I think that will probably set Xbox in the direction of more being like, okay, we have to be a games console. And they probably will start to invest more in like actually good games. Another one that's coming out, which I don't think there's been any news about this game for a little while, is called Avowed. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't,
Um,
no.
if I remember correctly, it's being made by the team that made Fallout New Vegas, I want to say. I think I'm not 100% sure if that's
Is that the
correct, but
same team that did the Outer Worlds?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
I believe it is.
Okay.
Um, so it's a Xbox exclusive made by those guys, and we did actually get a trailer for it a month or two ago, and people were saying it looked a bit downgraded, but that's because the original trailer was a CGI trailer, and they didn't seem to put two and two together that it was gameplay versus
Oh.
CGI. But anyway, um, like it looks really good, and like I think like they're obviously well known themselves for making good games and kind of working with Bethesda on like the Fallout series and stuff. So I'm excited about that as well to see more of it. So I do think Xbox are probably going to have a bit of a comeback where like games are concerned, even if
Yeah.
Halo still kind of fell off and not what it used to be. I was never like a huge Halo fan, but I played through like the co-op campaigns with like mates and stuff, and when I was younger, and like I do appreciate them, and I played through like the early Gears of War games, and Xbox seemed like they used to have these like really strong IPs that they've just kind of like let go. It's a weird one.
Maybe it's
Uh,
just a case of outdatedness, you know what I mean? Like, so back in the day, like Gears of War and Halo were enough for a lot of people because, like,
yeah,
pew pew shooting, you know, it still seemed kind of new in the space when those games released and the kind of what they did and all that. But nowadays, like, what you can do in Halo, you could probably do in the new COD. So, like,
yeah, that's
you know,
true. The first person shooter genre has kind of become a bit of a sludge where it's like
exactly, yeah.
now every single shooter is like hero shooters and you can slide and run on walls, and it's like there's not that much that's unique in the shooter genre anymore. Speaking of which, I was kind of like interested in there was a game that was announced during the game like Gamescom called Delta Force, which is bringing back like an old series, and it kind of piqued my interest at first when I saw the trailer, but then again, it's hero shooters, microtransactions, and it's like I just there's nothing good for shooter fans out there right now, unfortunately.
I can't
And
even remember Delta Force.
yeah, I think it might be. I don't even have that much of a memory of it, but I know it's bringing back an old franchise and kind of resurrecting it. So yeah, and I thought it like I watched the trailer and I was like, this looks like it could be good, but then I looked more into it and I was just like, oh no, no thanks. Um,
Well,
what
I mean,
other?
so before we get into Crimson Desert, right? Because I feel
Go on.
like that's going to kind of be our main event sort of
It
thing.
definitely is the main thing I want to talk about, but yeah, go for it.
The one of the things that looked really cool for me, right, as a bit of a Sonic fan, okay, Sonic
Mhm.
Superstars, which is releasing on the 17th of October, which is awful. Why would
Right.
they do that to themselves? For starters, I mean,
Why
Mario.
would
I
anyone
feel
release
like
a game in October at this point? Is like
I,
just stop.
I kind of get Mario because Mario is kind of in his own league. Everyone will eventually pick up the new Mario
Yeah,
game, right?
yeah,
Where everyone will remember to pick up the Mario game after Spider Man, or people who are maybe too young for Spider Man will pick up the Mario game, whatever. But
yeah.
like Sonic is one of those kind of IPs, unfortunately, that isn't a must buy. So you can forget about that game very easily. But Superstars looks really fun. It looks like a return to formula with the 4 player co op and stuff like that. And of course, Sonic Frontiers DLC as well for
Mm.
free, which looks really cool. I mean, I don't know if you played Frontiers. I don't know if you're at all a
Um,
Sonic fan.
no, I don't really play Mario, Sonic, like those kind of games, to be honest with you. Like my partner has a Switch, which she rarely gets time to play anymore, to be honest. She's a huge Zelda fan, but I've just never like the last time I played like those kind of like platformer games was at my grandparents' house on the Dreamcast that we used to have there like 20 like 15 20 God knows how many years ago. So yeah. But like I don't mind like you to like talk about them by all means. Like I'm still interested in like because the October lineup for games is just crazy. So yeah, like
It's
how Sonic
insane, to
fits
be
into that
honest.
is
Like,
just mad.
it's either late September, October, or just random timing next year. Like there is no like in between of that. It's either in the next month or two or it's next year. You know what I mean? There is
Yeah.
not a lot in November. I think the only thing that comes out in November, and I might be wrong when I say this, is Modern Warfare, which the
No,
only
yeah, I
thing I'm
think
looking forward
that's
to
the
is the
only like
zombies mode.
yeah, like I am probably gonna steer clear of Modern Warfare 3 for my own. Well, I can't afford it for one thing because there's just so many other games coming out. Like I just can't afford to buy any other games. I shouldn't even really be buying any games to be honest. But let's have a quick look. So games releasing 2023. Let's just have a quick look at what the
I
slate
have the
is.
list of announced games. That's where I was able to remember Sonic and stuff
Okay.
like that.
Oh, so game releases November. Let's see. Is there anything major of note? Not that I can see, really. Some like a Dragon Gaiden, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Hogwarts Legacy releasing on Nintendo Switch finally. Um,
Mate, I
mm,
this might be a real hot take, by the way, and I feel kind of bad for mentioning this after all the controversy and stuff, but I don't think it was worth all the anger. The game's kind of boring.
it came and went. Like that game
It
very much
wasn't even
came and
because
went. I
it was a single player game. Like I didn't finish it. It really it
it
bored me.
sold pretty well, and like I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, you know, being a fan of Harry Potter when I was a kid and stuff, it was like cool to step back into that world for a bit and just play around. And I think it was a well-made game, but it was just one of the games of all time. Like, it had a few good ideas, and they did it about as well as they could based on the universe that it was set. That's all I've really got to say about it. Like,
Pretty much, yeah.
it
Like it's
exists and it was okay.
Yeah, well, I mean that's exactly it. Like it was kind of, it was a very generic open world style game set in Harry Potter with the spells that you would expect and the scenarios that you would expect to see in a Harry Potter game. Like it wasn't I mean, I'm not saying it has to be anything more than that. It doesn't. Like if
Yeah.
you're really into Harry Potter, you would probably
Yeah,
100% it
I
if you
feel like
wanted
it
to,
ticked.
but
I feel like it ticked the boxes that like hardcore Harry Potter fans probably wanted, and like, yeah, I think it was just fine. Um, do you know what I'm probably gonna like? I've never really played the Metal Gear games properly. Like, I played Metal Gear 5 for a bit, and the story was just so wacky that I just couldn't keep up with it. And I really got into the Metal Gear multiplayer. Like, I love the PvP online. I played that to death. But I never got into Metal Gear like as a franchise. It just passed me by when I was like younger, even though it's my kind of generation. Um, but I'm kind of thinking I might go back and play the remasters when they come out. Like, it might be a good
yeah.
opportunity to, because I know I appreciate that they're good games. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know they're good. I just never got around to really getting into them, even though I love stealth. So it's like I should like them by all rights, and I kind of feel like it might be a good opportunity to get them now that they're being re-released. I
Yeah,
don't know
because I
if
was
you're
gonna,
into.
I was gonna say, because like if you would go back and you played like the original one now, it would probably feel so outdated given the advancements and stealth and stuff like that now. So yeah, I'd probably
Yeah.
play like the newer ones as well. But the only one I've ever played when it come to Metal Gear Solid was Phantom Pain when it come out for free on PlayStation Plus, and
Hmm.
I don't know if I clicked onto it. I don't know if it was really for me. I think it's sort of just, I don't know if it's a franchise that I can really sort of dive into.
Well, like
Um,
mechanically, I thought it was like amazing. Like, when I played Metal Gear 5 and I was like exploring the open world and doing all these like missions and stuff, I was like, this gameplay's sick. But it was just, then like there was a giant fire whale flying through the sky, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, so it just put me off because I was like, I can't. I was really struggling to like to put this like serious tactical military shooter stealth game next to this weird, like, like sci-fi. I just couldn't let them, like, it was causing like cognitive dissonance in my brain where I couldn't get into it. But I feel like I might give them another chance starting from the beginning. It might be a good place to kind of appreciate them
This will be when
properly.
you play it and you realize that the first like two are actually really normal, and then it does a Fast and Furious situation where by like the
Uh,
third, fourth, it just goes
yeah,
nuts,
probably.
and then the
Yeah,
fifth is Fire Whale.
yeah. That totally caught me off guard. That scene when that happened, I was just like, yeah, this is too much for me. Um, right. So we got. Oh, actually, just a very quick one. What did you think of the Rebel Moon trailer?
I thought it was what Zack Snyder probably wanted to do with Star Wars if he got to do that
That
film,
was
and that's
exactly
pretty
my
much that,
thoughts.
and that's pretty much it. Like he even has
Yeah.
lightsabers,
Hmm.
like there it is exactly pretty much
I think
exactly what I'd have pictured Star Wars being if he got to have a go at it.
that's literally like what it is, though. Like, as far as I'm aware, I've heard people say that like Rebel Moon is his Star Wars pitch that was basically knocked back, and he's gone like, well, screw it, then I'm just gonna make my own universe with the same story. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, and the thing is, as well, is it's not like he's done it to a point where it's different enough. Where like, and to be fair, even if it's not, and his thing is just, well, I wanted to pitch this to somewhere else. They said no, I'm bringing it over here. It's not a lightsaber; it's a beam sword or something like that.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, and it works out. And the thing is, even that little clip of that person doing the little slashes and the light following the beams and
yeah.
stuff like that, I thought that's so cool. That actually looks like a lightsaber.
This is the thing, though. So, like, my kind of thing with Zack Snyder is that he's known for making stuff that looks really, really cool. Like, but then in terms of like story and writing, it doesn't always hit. I personally really like 300 and Watchmen. I think those are two brilliant films. Personally, I didn't really like. I'm very mixed on like his DC stuff. Like Man of Steel is good, but it's not like, I'm not like devastated that he's left DC and we haven't got the Snyderverse like some diehards are. Um, but I think I'm probably going to give this a watch. It looks interesting, and I want to see what he does with his own universe rather than like adapting something. I think
That's
that'll
true,
be
yeah.
interesting to
Because I
see.
think one of the things as well with the Snyderverse is that he kind of has like to deal with like preconceptions of characters, whereas there
Yeah,
isn't one in his own universe. They are his,
exactly.
so he
Hmm.
can do what he wants with them. I am quite curious about what the game's going to look like. I'm hoping that it's not just
Yeah,
some generic like nonsense, because whenever you kind of connect things to like an IP, but he did say it's like after these two movies, this is the next step. This is basically like the third installment in game form. So
yeah.
it has
Which
to
is
be
a weird
important. It has to
approach,
be
but
good.
yeah,
Like,
he's obviously banking on like people who like the show. There's a crossover between if you like the show, you're probably a gamer anyway, and I think he's kind of like banking on that like crossover.
yeah, I would
But
hope that if he is looking at this like the third installment, that this game gets advertised like crazy, a lot of money goes into it, and it ends up being like a huge big budget. Like you should, if this is genuinely going to be a third installment in your franchise, give it a movie budget,
hmm
and
yeah.
maybe even then some, because games are quite expensive. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
just
games generally cost like as much, if not more, to make than movies do this like these days, and they make a lot more money than films do as well. So
yeah.
it's like the gaming industry's like eclipsed the movie making industry in terms of just like money. It's crazy actually when you think about it. Um, I watched like I got bored watching the Call of Duty campaign gameplay. It was just
Oh,
so
I was so angry when I was watching it, because I
I was what
hate
like what
I
was that?
hate the trailers that are just slow, plodding, walking, and
Yeah,
PlayStation are criminals for it. When they
I
show
love
off their new
stealth
games,
gameplay, but it's
they
like
just walk and that's it, and they hit and they're so slow, and it's like no one is gonna play Modern Warfare 3 in that mission and just plod along really slowly and like one
really
tap
bizarre
guys
choice to
very
market your game that
slowly.
way.
And it was very weird. Most people are just going to run in and shoot everyone and stuff. And I was like, I don't even want to see the campaign gameplay, because you're not going to showcase it the way regular people are going to play it, which is run around shooting people with a shotgun, trying to run to the objectives to get to the next story beat so that they can feel accomplished doing the campaign, so then they can move to the multiplayer without feeling guilty. That's pretty much
Yeah,
exactly why people do it.
I think it's because like the mission in the first Modern Warfare game, like the 2018 reboot, there was a mission where you go through a house really quietly, and everyone was like, "Oh, that mission's like really cool." You know the way they did it with like the SWAT, like the sort of SWAT team and like night vision and stuff. And now it's like, "Oh, well, everyone thought that was really cool, so let's make that like all of the gameplay demos." And it's like, no, like that's cool to do in one mission of a game, but it's not cool to just watch a whole 10-minute segment of like this is our game, and it's like I'm so bored watching this. Like show off like a like a set piece, like something cool.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah.
the Call of Duty was a really strange choice. It just looked boring. I don't care about it. The only thing that's going to pull me in, and I'm kind of hoping it doesn't, just because I don't want to spend money on it, is like you said, the zombies mode, and that's pretty much all I've got to say about it.
I've heard that
Um,
people complaining about the fact that it's 60-minute servers, but I think it's important to note that like millions of people are going to play this game when it comes out, and it's a
yeah,
24 player lobby. And if you allow 24 players in each individual server to last forever, you will have no space left for other people to play. You
yeah.
just won't. You can't make enough servers for that many people to stay forever
It's
in
a weird
one
thing to
lobby.
complain about when you think about it for more than like 5 seconds. Like it's
Yeah,
obvious why
exactly.
they need
Yeah.
to have like servers that refresh because it's not a perpetually. It's not like an MMO. Like you need round. It's just it's a weird thing to complain about. We got a little bit more Assassin's Creed Mirage footage, like sprinkled here and there. Looks good. I'm excited about it. I've been making some videos on Assassin's Creed. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be pretty good, actually. Like the more I see of Mirage, the more I'm like, feeling it. Like aesthetically and in terms of like the setting for the game looks really good. And even though I'm kind of disappointed with the parkour because they've obviously not revolutionized it or done anything really with it, even though they kind of said they were going to, they were like, yeah, the parkour is going to like harken back to the earlier series, and it's like doesn't look like it has, but it still looks good, and I still think I'm going to enjoy it. But I don't know.
Yeah, it looks all right. I mean, I played Valhalla, so when it comes to like the story and stuff of Basim and that, I do want to jump in. But a
Yeah,
part of me, I didn't really like him, and I know I'm not supposed to because he was a bad guy. Because like that's
yeah,
the whole point. But like, I feels kind of like Last of Us 2-ish that now there's a whole game based on the villain, right? And now I'm
yeah. I mean,
playing
he
as
could be
him, and like,
completely different in like his younger years, and like we get to see how he became a bit of a dickhead. Like maybe it'll be like that because the game starts out from everything we know so far is that like he's a street thief, and the assassins recruit him, and then like he becomes a mentor by the events of Valhalla. So there's a lot of room for character progression or regression to like the way he is in Valhalla, if you like. um so that I wouldn't worry too
yeah,
much about the fact
possibly.
that you didn't like him in Valhalla. It's a totally different voice actor for like this version of Basim when he's younger as well. So I think he's going to be quite different from the way he was portrayed in Valhalla. I think. I don't think you
I
have to
mean,
much to worry
yeah,
about.
I think like gameplay wise, again, it's like it's an Assassin's Creed game at this point. Like there isn't really a lot for me to sort
Yeah,
of like if you've played one of them, you've played them all, kind
pretty
of thing
much.
at this stage, and obviously it's a bit true to old formula in a sense of how it's laid out. I actually like the RPGs. That's a hot take. I'm really happy that the Japanese one is going to be an RPG. That's
Hmm.
that's that's great for me. That means I can just
That's
keep
fair.
playing it.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel like the RPG one is like I can see the appeal of both directions for the Japanese game because it was obviously a massively, hugely requested like time period, but it's inevitably going to be compared to Ghost of Tsushima no matter what they do. Like people are going to compare them. So I think going down the more RPG route, whereas Ghost of Tsushima has kind of fulfilled the action adventure, open world action adventure. Uh, what would be the word? They've already kind of done it. So they like to go back to that original version of Assassin's Creed for that game wouldn't make sense now because they'd just be compared to Ghost of Tsushima even
exactly.
more.
Yeah, it
So
would it would
having
be a losing battle, really. To be fair.
exactly, yeah, it's an uphill battle. So having a more RPG style game in the same like not time setting but same location, geographical location is probably the best way to do it to avoid too many direct comparisons. They can kind of do their own thing with it. So yeah, I agree. I think it's probably best to stick with the RPG formula for that game overall. Um, I'm not really bothered about Alan Wake 2. Never played the first one. Don't know
No,
if
mate, me
you're.
neither. Even the
Yeah.
gameplay stuff looks naff to me. I really don't get what people are hyping it up for. I mean, people might be into that sort of game. That's totally fine. But for me, I'm just like, I'm not really understanding why that got the main event slot at Gamescom and things
Yeah,
like.
I
I'm
mean,
not like even
it
the
was a
first game didn't. I remember when the first game come out, it wasn't the most popular thing in the world. Like people forgot
yeah.
about it. It
I
wasn't.
feel like
It
there's
was.
been some revisionism with that game where it's like, oh my god, the second gun's coming out, and it's like don't ever remember that game being hugely popular. I remember it being popular within a niche of people liking it. Like there was a group
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And
but it wasn't like some huge The Last of Us success style like massive
I've
hit.
never seen anyone beg for it since then. I
Yeah.
think Control helped,
Mm.
which so get people thinking to themselves, well, this world's kind of cool. And then Alan Wake showed up, and people were like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then they connected the dots, and then number two came out. They played it well by putting him in Control, very smart. But I
Yeah.
think that like again, like you said, it's revisionist history. It was a game that came and went, and then no one was begging for it, and then it came back, and people were like, "Yo, finally!" Like, what are you
There's
talking about?
probably people who are going to like, well, I don't know, probably not a lot of people are going to watch this stream overall, but like, there might be people that watch this stream and go like, what are these guys talking about? Like, I love that game, and it's like it's just from my perspective personally, I don't remember it being like this huge mega like thing that the second one's being made out to be. Like,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
just yeah, it's just weird. But for people who enjoy it, I'm happy for them. Um, Mortal Kombat. Any interest in Mortal Kombat?
I'm not really a fighting game dude, to be honest. It's too many
Yeah,
buttons for me, mate. I'm a bit of a boomer when it comes
I
to
think it
games
looks
and
cool.
stuff.
Like for the trailers I've seen and like all the fatalities and stuff, it looks good. I kind of swore off Mortal Kombat when I just got absolutely destroyed by my. I used to, as you know, I used to work in game, and my manager at the time, like we played like a few rounds of Mortal Kombat, and he just absolutely like destroyed me, and I've just never played it since, basically. And I used to like it when I was a kid, like I used to play all the older ones, and then I just stopped playing it after that
It's
experience.
kind of weird. The attraction for me with Mortal Kombat 1 is actually the DLC. Like Homelander,
Okay, yeah. Oh,
Peacemaker,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is cool,
Omni
actually. Yeah.
Man. Like those are that's actually the reason I want to get it. And I've never actually had that before where DLC is the reason I want to buy a game initially. So like that's kind of it. But that novelty will wear off way before I get my price,
Yeah.
you
What
know.
what what you need, like, I don't know if you're anything like me, but I have a weakness where, like, Mortal Kombat, I'm not super interested in. But if there's an aspect of the game, like just one small aspect that I'm like, oh, I really want that, like I'd buy the game just to play that small thing, play it for a day, and then never play it again. And I have to really control myself not to waste like 80 quid just to have this small thing where I can say like, oh, I played as Omni Man for like 5 minutes. That was cool. I'm never gonna play it again. 80 quid
Exactly.
gone. So
That's the
it's
problem that I've got. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I almost bought his skin on Warzone, yet I never play Warzone. You
yeah,
know.
exactly. And that's how they get you. I know when they revealed Alan Wake 2, people were hyped. I think the first took off a bit before it got popular. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've seen like Cal, who's on Twitter. He talks about it a lot, but it's neither here nor there for me. I think, like you said, it's quite cool the way Remedy. It is Remedy, isn't it, that
It is
makes?
Remedy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Remedy, it is cool the way they've done this like connected universe thing, and I actually would like to kind of see more things like that in games in general. And I know that sounds like, oh, not everything has to be like a connected universe like the MCU, but it's like it's a cool concept for games that I don't think has really been explored a lot. And that the way they've done it is quite interesting because I actually watched a video essay on this the other day. Um, it just kind of came on in the background and I left it running. And the guy was talking about how Max Payne is like is like a TV show within Alan Wake, and it's like that's really cool actually, like that as a
That's what.
concept.
Yeah. That is actually
Um,
interesting. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
so Max Payne was originally made by Remedies. Obviously, Rockstar kind of took over it with Max Payne 3, but the first two Max Payne games are made by Remedy. And during the first Alan Wake game, there's this whole scene where you find out that Max Payne is a TV show within Alan Wake. So it's a cool idea, and I think that like when I watched that, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna play the game, but it's still pretty cool. Um, but yeah,
I mean,
I,
you're right because when it comes to games, for the most part, like a lot of the time, it is just uh, game one, game two, There's not like this game and then this game and then this game, and they're all connected. But like, you don't
yeah,
need to play one before the other, sort of thing. Like, we don't need to play that DLC of Control with Alan Wake in it to know about Alan Wake 2.
yeah,
But
no,
it is
exactly.
still really cool to sort of be like, a couple
Yeah,
of Easter eggs
it's a
and
good
stuff.
idea, and not even for just like Marvel games, like just in general. Like you could, in theory, Red Dead could be set in the same universe as GTA, and the Red Dead is just the past of GTA. You
Yeah,
know what I
well, I
mean?
mean,
Like,
yeah, I mean that's a theory. I think a lot of people have
yeah. So
kind of
that
gone
kind of
with.
thing is a cool little concept. Even just for Easter eggs, I think it's like a nice idea. I know you're like kind of short on time today. You mentioned that you've got like plans with your missus and stuff, so I'm not going to keep you super long. This is going to be a relatively short stream compared to the last ones. So I think while we've got like 15 minutes ish left from when you need to crack on, we probably need to talk about the meat and potatoes, which is Crimson Desert. Um, that game just kind of like I don't know if you've been following that game since it kind of got announced. I have a little bit. There's a YouTuber that I watch called oh, I forget his name, but he covers like a mostly indie games, and he's talked about Crimson Desert quite a lot, and it just looks ridiculous.
Well, Gamescom was the first time I'd seen anything of it. All I
Okay,
knew is that it was set in the same world as Black Desert Online, I believe.
so that I've been doing a little bit of research on Crimson Desert over the past few days to kind of I want to make a video on it, so I've been doing gathering as much like news as I can kind of find on it. And it turns out that it was originally planned to be a prequel to the Black Desert universe, but it's now apparently just a standalone IP. It's just
Oh,
its own thing. I don't know if this is 100% accurate. It's just what I've read. So there was a plan that it was originally going to be a prequel, and now it's just a spiritual successor, where it's like the same gameplay ideas and overall style, but it's its own thing. And when I finally get round to doing the video, I'll try and get a bit more clarification on that. But that's what I read recently. So
that's fair. I mean, so here's the thing. I played Black Desert Online initially, and even though it's really good, I was very lost. Like this
yeah,
is a game that literally is so detailed that I think there's even a thing where you have to pay like your house's taxes and do that and stuff. Like it's ridiculous. It's such a
yeah.
lived-in game that I was like, no, I'm good. Like I'm living life already. I can't live two lives. Like this is
No,
too
this
much.
exactly that. Like I've looked at a little bit of Black Desert gameplay, especially when because Crimson Desert was actually announced like 2 years ago. There's gameplay of it from 2 years ago, and it was announced and just quietly kind of like was in like people were like, oh, this looks really cool. It's probably years away, but then they did this big gameplay blowout yesterday, and that's where it's really kind of grabbed people's attention. So I've been watching it for a while now, and when I found out that it was made by the guys who make Black Desert, I went back to look into Black Desert, and I was just like, nope, like I don't have time for this. This, like trying to get into an MMO, especially at my age when I've got like 3 kids. It's just I can't, I can't put time into
It's
like an MMO
exhausting, man. Like
that
I played it
demands your
with
life.
some friends for like a few hours, and I was immediately like, man, like
Yeah,
I'm almost afraid to stop playing the game and come back because I feel like I've missed like 50 things, and I'm gonna get like, and it's not like a bad design from them. Like I get it, it's an MMO, you're
yeah.
supposed to
For
live
people
in
who
it,
want that
but
experience, that's fair,
yeah,
and for people who've got time for it. But one of the reasons that I'm hyped about Crimson Desert, other than that, is just the fact that like it seems to look like a lot of the things that Black Desert offers, but just as a single player game. So it's like I
yeah.
kind of get to experience how cool that Black Desert gameplay is and all the cool things about it without having to invest so much time and energy into it.
What I think's insane about Crimson Desert is it actually looks like the first next gen game. Like
That's what I was thinking as well.
which is weird because it's not. I don't think it's exclusive to any systems or anything, but it looks like the first game that has really utilized the
Well,
most stuff they can get.
it's interesting because on the Wikipedia page, and obviously this could be incorrect and probably is incorrect, but on the Wikipedia page for the game for Crimson Desert, it says PS4, Xbox One, PS5, Series X, and I'm like,
What?
there is no way in hell that game is coming out on PS4 and Xbox One. No
Definitely
chance.
not. No
I think
way.
that has to be incorrect. Like they need to update the page because that's what it says, but I just don't see how that's possible.
I mean, maybe that was the goal originally, but then they were
Yeah,
like,
like
yeah, you know
3 years
what?
ago. Yeah,
Yeah, two
I
years
feel like
ago I
by
can sort
now,
of understand it, but now they don't do that. Like just
no,
have it
because
next gen. It's a next gen looking game. Give it its flowers. Let it be on the stuff. And
yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. It was such a beautiful game that I genuinely thought I'm going to show my parents this, right? I put it on for them, and they were wondering when the gameplay was going to start. It's a gameplay
Okay, yeah,
trailer
yeah.
because they thought it looked
Looks like
so
yeah.
great and like shocking that they were like, so when do you get to play? I'm like, this is it. This is the game. And they couldn't believe it. They were shocked. And
Yeah,
the thing is, and
it's
the
stupid.
reason that I said on Twitter that it looks like the perfect video game is because it literally does everything. There's everything in it. But it's not like an MMO to the point it looks exhausting. It's like you can fly, you can climb, do parkour. There's like
Yeah.
sword fight, quick time events, but then you can just do sword fighting normally. There's like
It's got like that like bit where
magic.
he was like trying to like crawl through bushes and getting trapped on bushes and like
Yeah,
that's very reminiscent of like how detailed Red Dead is when you slip on snow and stuff. And it's like it's just insane. Like I was watching it and I was like, this. The thing about it though is I was watching it and I was like, this looks almost like those mobile game trailers. Not in terms of the graphics. Obviously, graphically looks ridiculous, but it looks like those mobile game trailers where it's like the game does not look like that, and it's like, is this even real? Is this just a Unreal 5 concept it like what's that other game that was there was like a zombie open world game that's been like sort of talked about for ages now, and they and it looks
The
like
day
The Last of Us.
before?
The day before, that's the one. So
Yeah, I
everyone
remember.
was watching that game, and they were like, "Yeah, this isn't real. Like, this is a con. Basically, it's a cash grab. Like, it's never going to come out. It doesn't look real." And when I was watching this new Crimson Desert gameplay, I was kind of feeling the same way. I was like, "This is probably never going to come out. Like, it looks too good. It looks like it's doing too much, and it's not going to live up to the hype." I obviously want it to, but it's like I'm trying to be like cautiously optimistic as much as possible because it's like realistically, how much of this can they actually fit into the game? But then again, it's like we're getting towards, quite far into like the current gen systems, and some developer at some point has got to push its limits. So
Exactly. And one thing I will give them as well is that considering they already have experience making a pretty good MMO with where they have this huge world with all these magical abilities and all these particle effects, and it looks really good for an MMO,
yeah,
by the way. Like graphically it looks really good. And then they have to worry about the servers and online and stuff like that. Now you take that away and you have even more space to cook. I
yeah,
can sort of see how it can look even better and stuff because that's pretty much what it is. It's pretty much a next gen version of that MMO, but you don't have to worry about the MMO stuff, so you
that's
can
true.
fill it the pie even more. You know.
And it's like, and then at the same time as well, it's like who when it's a similar situation to like Red Dead Redemption 2 launching at the end of the PS4 life cycle. Like when that came out, everyone kind of had the same feeling like there's no way you could fit all this detail into a game. It's just ridiculous. But now that game is a few years old, it's been and gone. It's still great, but it's had its time, and it's like every generation of consoles, there's got to be like a few of these games that really like takes it up to the next level. So it's either gonna do that or it's gonna not live up to the hype and actually
That'd be
get a massive
gutting
downgrade.
because
Yeah,
this has been the first open world game that in fact, you know what? This has been the first game that isn't attached to an IP that I recognize that has actually caught my attention and made me want to play it. Like, I'm
yeah,
a bit of an IP ho. So, in the sense of like, so if something's Marvel or it's DC or if it's, superheroes or anything, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to buy it even if it's like not very good. But
hmm
it takes a lot for a game that I know nothing about to grab me from just gameplay alone because
yeah,
I don't know, sometimes they look a bit like, oh, okay. But like, I'm someone who is a little fed up of open world games. And this was one, like when he's with the horse near the cliff and you see this big thing, I was like, I just want to jump off the cliff and
yeah.
you can,
And you can, yeah, you
and
can
you can
skydive.
do it. And
Yeah,
exactly. And you can glide in the little raven form or whatever it is, like little black
hot
orb
air
form.
balloons.
Yeah, hot air balloons. So like, yeah,
In the
brilliant.
older, like if you go back, and I do recommend doing this because the old trailers look insane as well, by the way. So if you go back onto like Crimson Desert's YouTube channel, you can go back to like the first gameplay trailer that they released like 2 years ago, and there's clips of like where like the main character is like on a dragon, just like flying through the air, doing barrel rolls, and like
What?
it's like, yeah, like it's ridiculous. Like this game looks ridiculous, and I do want people to go back and look at some of the old stuff as well, and you can see how much progress they've made. To be fair, because the gameplay trailer from 2 years ago, even though it's a trailer, is clearly struggling frame rate wise.
Yeah.
It's at like 24, like 20, 24 FPS. You can see it, you can literally see it stuttering in the trailer. And like, I was messing with my YouTube settings, thinking like, have I got this trailer like running on a weird setting or something? And it's like, no, it's just genuinely like low FPS because it's a relatively early in development. And then if you look at this new one, it looks like way, way, way better in terms of like FPS and stuff. It's promising that they've made a lot of progress in that time. Um, don't know if you know about this as well, but over the time from when the first trailer was released, the lead developer, did a few interviews, and apparently there is actually a co-op mode called Another Journey.
Yeah, I remember you bringing that up to
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
So apparently with that, you create your own character, and then you just kind of get to explore the open world and do like all the like separate side content and like just mess around. There's no like real like story structure to it. And it's weird because when they've then come out and shown off the game at Gamescom, they've been like it's a single player RPG, experience, and they haven't mentioned anything about co-op. So I have a feeling that's possibly been scrapped, or it's something that they might like release the single player and then maybe bring in the co-op later. A bit like a couple of other games have done that like recently. So
Yeah,
I,
I can see
I
that.
don't know.
I think that they probably realized that they don't have an infinite amount of space and
Yeah.
data, and you know what I mean, like just they can't put
No.
too
Yeah.
much in something. So they probably
100%.
thought to themselves, well, we can either get rid of the co-op and make the single player not run like an old woman, or we can, we can try and do both or whatever. So I think they'll probably do it like you said, make it like two separate things, because then it's
Yeah.
not like all hooked into the one,
Definitely.
entity.
Yeah, I,
um
I I think that like might possibly be the case. And to be honest, and I bring this up like quite a lot. You know how much I love co-op and how much I think it should be in like basically every game ever. But if it doesn't, if they've scrapped the co-op, it looks that good that I'm like, I don't even really care because it just looks that insane. It would be nice because like Dragon's Dogma 2 isn't going to have co-op either, even though it looks like it's built for co-op from everything about that game screams that it should be co-op. I don't know if you've been following Dragon's
no,
Dogma
no,
2 or
mate, no.
if you play if you've not played the first Dragon's Dogma game, like genuinely it's worth going back and playing. It's a really good game. And the second one looks insane as well, but it's not going to have co-op. So I'm hoping the Crimson Desert does, but I won't be too, I'm not going to cry about it if it doesn't because it just looks that good.
Well, I mean, it's coming out next year, man. Like, I'm hoping it's not late next year either. Like, because that's a lot of games when they say 2024 or 2023, as we know from Spider-Man,
Yeah.
a lot of people hope like, oh, it could be January. It's
Yeah.
not. It's
No,
not going to be January. We're
they did
seeing with
recently come out and say that they need more time for it. So without putting like a scale on it, I think this could even be 2025. Like, y-
Possibly, yeah, and I think it's warranted if they need it. Like
yeah,
they, because with the way it looks now, they can't have it release and be like stuttery or buggy or anything like that. It has to hit now, because
yeah.
they've got people like me who are complete like
This is it.
it,
So like
it,
you knew nothing about this game prior from this one trailer are now sold on the game. So it's like
entirely everything
it
about it.
it's a pro and con of like when do they decide to release new gameplay and footage because they
Because
then set expectations.
how long will I feel like this exactly? Like, how long am I going to have this in my head and think to myself, like, this is it, I'm definitely getting this game. But eventually, it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to forget about it, right? So it needs
Yeah.
to almost have, when it gets close to release, it needs another big trailer that's going to be like, oh yeah, that game, let's go. Because otherwise I'm just
Well,
going to forget, because
this is it.
yeah.
So like there's another game that was announced a few years ago as well called Project Awakened. And you can look this up. There's a trailer for it online, and it's similar. It's like a fantasy game. And this was like I think it might have even been announced before the PS5 came out, and it was gonna be intended to be like super late PS4 Pro, game. And then we've had nothing since. And apparently it is still in development. And when you go back and watch it, it looks insane. Like not quite on the level of like what Crimson Dawn. What's Crimson Dawn? That's something, but I've
I
got
don't know,
mixed up.
that's something
Anyway,
else.
I think it might be Star Wars. Anyway, um, Crimson Desert, it's not quite on the level of Crimson Desert because obviously now that's a few years later. But if you go back and watch this gameplay reveal for Project Awakened, it looks ridiculous, like this big dragon fight, and the dragon picks him up and throws him into the wall, and it's all in real time. But we haven't heard anything for like 4 years, so I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
And it looks,
exactly. And that's
and
yeah.
that's just the way it is. So like, Crimson Desert could look like the best game in the world, and it may well be the best game in the world. But if we don't hear anything for another 2 years, eventually I'm just going to stop caring.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But one thing I will say though, just about this trailer, is that I appreciate that it wasn't just like action, action, action. They showed like the cool game things, like crawling in a bush should not be something worth to advertise, but
yeah,
because of the animations and stuff like that, I was like, oh, that's cool. And like
yeah.
being able to hug a cat and pet like a sea lion. I think it was a sea lion. It looked like one anyway. It might have been just a dog,
I think
but
showing off all these small details is a good sign that they're pretty far into development as well. Like they didn't just focus on just combat or just like
traversal and
exploration. It
open
was like
world and
all these
stuff.
little fine details of like
Even just buying fruit from the
polish.
market.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
like all these
I
little
mean,
little
I
things.
appreciated seeing it.
Yeah,
Being able to splash water in your face at these things and give yourself like health, or playing the flute or whatever it was while he's wearing like a dog head, and things
yeah,
like that. Being able to pray or whatever. Like it's cool stuff. Like I'm liking it. What I've seen. I mean, I know nothing about the story. Am I interested in the story? Not right now. Not really. The game
yeah,
itself looks fun enough. So like, even if it's one of them where I just skip the cutscenes, just get back to the game. I mean, you still got me. So it's like,
yeah.
who
Yeah, I
cares?
think I think it probably will have like a pretty in-depth story. I mean, if you're gonna commit that much time to like a big, like detailed open world and all these different characters and stuff, you probably will have a decent story to go along with it. But at the same time, like I'm sold on the gameplay, like you, so it,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's gonna do well regardless. And with all these little fine details being in the trailer, it could be closer than we think. It may well make 2024. And we're just being, we're just dooming on it, but who knows? I think it'll be interesting to see more of it. Anything that you want to kind of add on? Just, but I'm not. I'm gonna. I know you've got things to do, so I'm not going to keep you. But
Um,
anything else you want to talk about?
that's kind of it with Gamescom, really. I mean, as I said earlier, I think like maybe this is a bit of a hot take, but I just don't think Alan Wake 2 should have main evented Gamescom. It kind of was like, okay, I'm off now. Then, like you had Mortal Kombat, you had COD, you had Crimson Desert, you had all these like, really good. You know what? Actually, one last thing I do want to talk about. Little Nightmares 3, right? So I loved playing the first Little Nightmares with my partner because it was really funny as these big like weird flabby monsters in the masks and stuff were trying to chase us. There's one thing, right? I don't know if you've ever played it,
I
but
haven't. I know of it, but I've never played
it's
it.
pretty good. It's short, but it's really good. And there's one thing where you have to, because you're a little guy and everyone's massive, which makes it even scarier. And you're like
Yeah,
on top of this like shelf, and because there's physics in the game where you can pick up anything and throw it as long as it's not attached. We we did this thing where we grabbed these plates and you yeeted them at the bad guy's head, and he no reacts because he's a monster. But we could
yeah,
not stop laughing, man. It was so funny. And I haven't played the second one, but this third one's got co-op. And the fact that I can actually play this with my partner is so fun and exciting. I think it's gonna be an absolute laugh. Like I'm really glad they announced that, because that was one of my kind of like, oh no way sort of thing. Even though not many people would care, it's kind of a niche. I'm not even a big
yeah.
horror
No,
guy.
that's
I just
fair.
really liked Little Nightmares.
Yeah, I might look into it to be fair because I'm pretty sure like I've seen a gameplay, like at least a decent amount of gameplay for the first one. I think me and my partner sometimes, like when we're just chilling watching TV, rather than watching a TV show, we might just watch like a streamer, like play like a funny like gameplay, whatever. Like we like
Yeah, yeah.
Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure we've watched someone play Little Nightmares at some point. Um, might have been like Jacksepticeye, I'm not sure, but and it looked all right. It's not really my cup of tea personally, like those like side scroller type games, but it it's something I would play with my partner if she wanted to play it. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
we
exactly.
play like we played um It Takes Two. We finished that together. We finished A Way Out together, and we started playing
Who
what's
who
the one
won
where you
in A Way Out, by the way? So when you have to fight at the end,
me.
okay, fair enough.
But like it's it's just the truth. Um
Could even let her kill, not even for the
Nah,
ending.
nah. Uh, we're both way too competitive for that. Um, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so we started playing. What's the game where you play as like a little like ball of yarn or like a little yarn stick figure man?
So
You know the one I mean. You're like a little red yarn
I'm not
man.
sure.
Ah, you must know it. Like it. It's it's
A
anyway.
little
In the second
yarn,
one, so in the first one, you just play as this little yarn man, like a coil of string. And then in the
Little Big
second
Planet.
no, no, it's not Little Big Planet. In the
Oh,
second one, they introduced co-op, so it's very similar to what you've just said with Little Nightmares. where like they added a second yarn person. So in the first game you play as the red one, and then in the second one they added a blue one, and you can do co-op.
Was
And
it like a
we
was it like a big game, like a popular one?
no, it was just like a little. Well, I mean, it was talked about quite a bit in like the side scroller circles. You know, like the people that really like those kind of games. I'm trying to think of what it was called. Oh, that's gonna annoy me so much. Let me just quickly look it up. Right, game where you play as Yawn. I'm sure it's Yawn.
Oh, Unravel, Unravel 2.
Unraveled. Yeah, that's the one. Unravel. So
Okay.
Unravel, and then there was Unravel 2 where they added like the co-op to it. So we did play a little bit of that as well. So I might look into Little Nightmares.
It's
If it's
pretty much
got
the same thing.
co-op.
So the way Unravel works, like I'm just looking at pictures now. It's pretty much the same idea, small,
Yeah.
but it's horror themed. Like it is. You know what? It is actually quite scary.
Yeah.
It does
I've
get. It does
definitely
get
seen
me. You know.
gameplay on it. I know for a fact I've watched gameplay of the first or second game, and like I know there's a bit where like there's like a kitchen and you're trying to
Yeah.
like crawl
Yeah.
under the table to get away from like a weird chef guy, and like he's got like a cleaver or something. Like there's something in the back of my mind where no, I've definitely watched gameplay of it, like quite an extensive section of gameplay, or maybe my missus has been watching it and I like had it on in the background kind of thing. So might look into the third one if it's got co-op because we're always looking for co-op games to play like split screen and stuff. So
I don't believe the second one has co-op. That's the only reason I mentioned that, because otherwise I think I would have already picked it up. I mean, I want to play that one
yeah.
anyway because I like the first one. I just never bothered. I think because I'm a bit of a chicken.
Yeah, oh mate, tell me about it. I'm terrible with horror games. Like, I will not play them. Like, even if I'm watching a playthrough of someone playing a horror game, I'm literally like that because I don't really watch horror films with jump scares. Like, I'm just a massive like wet flannel when it comes to horror, honestly. So don't worry about it. You're not alone.
Oh, so Little Nightmares is one of them annoying games where it has AI as a second person, but there is no co-op.
Oh,
So it has co-op, but you just can't do it with someone else.
right.
But Little
Yeah. Well,
Nightmares 3 is co-op,
right.
so
So just to kind of cycle back to what I was saying about Dragon's Dogma 2, and I know it seems like a weird segue, but that is the premise of Dragon's Dogma 2. So the whole premise of Dragon's Dogma, even the first one, is that it's co-op. Oh, there's my cat. It has co-op without um other players. And I know that sounds really stupid, but like it has these things called pawns, and basically the way the game works is like the way the game works is like you create your own character that you play as, right?
yeah.
And then you create your pawn, and they follow you everywhere. They're just like your little servant person, basically. And they form your party, and the rest of your party is filled up with two other pawns that you bring from another player's world. So I could rent your. I'm not gonna say rent your pawn because that sounds weird. I can summon your pawn. Spell
Dude,
PAWN, by the way.
my dudes.
Um, into the game, so I can have a party of me, mine, and your character, and they will play exactly like players. Like they use the same character creation system, same abilities, classes, everything, and they can interact with the environment and like call stuff out, but there's no co-op, and it's like, why? Like the game is already set up so that I can bring in something from your game world, and it doesn't have co-op. It's so bizarre. And the Dragon's Dogma community is like 50-50 split on like 50% to like we need co-op, and then the other half is like no, it doesn't need co-op, and it's like yeah. But anyway, I'm waffling. I'm just
It's all
waffling
right,
on.
no worries. I'll have a look at it
But
later, to be fair,
it's
so
a
I can
really
sort
good
of
game
see
though.
what you're
It's a
talking about.
really, really good game. Like that you can get the remaster of Dragon's Dogma, like the expanded version on PS4, and it works on PS5. if you like RPGs, it's genuinely such a good game. Like really, really good.
I have to be careful not to get into games that are too long because Spider-Man's not too far away, and
That's true.
I'm a little worried about diving into a game too deep. So right now I'm playing the first Red Dead because I never played
Okay.
it before, and like
You realize how contradictory that sentence is that you've just said right now, because
no,
you've
because
just
it's
said
I'm starting it now. Do you know? Like it's I've started like
Red
I'm almost
Dead's
done with the
huge.
story.
Red
Yeah,
Dead's
but
an
the first
enormous
one,
game. Oh,
the first one's not as big. If I started number two now,
it's
you'd
still
be
pretty
right.
big. It's still pretty big though. The first game, like the story is not super long, but it's like there's a lot of side con. It'll keep you busy till Spider-Man, definitely.
Yeah,
I
well,
think, which is
hopefully,
the plan probably.
yeah.
Um, then again, I mean, if you're gonna play Mirage, that comes out on the 5th. So
I don't know if mate. By that point, I don't know if I can afford anything other than Spider Man. By that point, like
yeah, well,
it's such an awkward timing for when that game comes out
it
because that's when
is.
I'm getting ready to like.
Yeah, it is, and like I pre-ordered. I get the collector's edition for every single Assassin's Creed, and I shouldn't, but I do. It's just like a thing, and I eventually want to have a room set up where I've got like all these cool models that I've got behind me for like streaming and stuff. Um, but I ordered the collector's edition of Mirage like when it was announced, basically. So I've had that like bought and paid for ages. So I'm gonna get it before Spider Man, and it'll give me something to like dig my teeth into, because I'll finish Mirage before Spider Man. Still, it's like 15 days. It's like
Yeah,
I'll finish Mirage in 2 weeks, like at least the story and like some of the side stuff. So yeah, it's a busy month for games. I say I'll finish it, but then it's like I've got 3 kids, so maybe I won't. I don't have I don't have as much time for games anymore, despite my whole YouTube channel being built on them. I talk about them way more than I actually play them these days.
I get it. That's
Um,
a lot of people, though. To be fair.
yeah. Um, right. Cool. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I know you got places to be and stuff to do, so it was nice to catch up. I know we had a
Thanks,
little break.
man. I enjoyed it. It was a good
Yeah,
time.
it was good. It was a little chill chat, like nothing. Hello, what do you want? Um, but yeah, next stream we do, for anyone who's watching this either on demand or whatever, will be again on your channel. Whether that be next week, maybe we'll get some news on Spider-Man by then.
Yeah, possibly. I
Um,
mean, as I said, there might be a showcase. PlayStation might want to do something, or
well, I mean, there's always a chance that the Game Informer coverage gets announced as
oh
well.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
The Game Informer coverage is due to be announced next week. So by then, if the Game Informer coverage gets announced, then we probably will talk about that. So that will be on your channel. So you get to hog all the Spider-Man glory on that one.
Nice.
Yeah. But I will love you and leave you. I'll catch you in the next one,
I'll see you
and
later,
enjoy
man.
the rest of your evening.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.